So I was out of town when we were playing Omaha, which I'm sad about because apparently the atmosphere before, after, during the game was just amazing. You were there, you were at the tailgate, and by golly, people are starting to notice this little podcast of ours.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, people are like, "Hey, you're the guy from the podcast," and I'm like, "Ooh, this video thing, not cool." I apologize ahead of time for my terrible takes and the fact that I predicted we'd lose this game.
I was at a academy thing the other day, and one of the academy coaches walked up to my wife. Obviously, I wasn't talking to anyone. I was doing my little misanthrope thing over in the corner. But he walked up to my wife and was like, "Hey, is that Alex?" And she was like, "Yeah, my husband, whatever." And he was like, "I watch the show every week." And she was like, "Really?"
I can't even get my wife to listen or watch the show, so I get her confusion.
Soccer chat with two T's, because we're going to chat about soccer, but we're also in Chattanooga, so it's like a play on words. And you know, Chattanooga is a soccer city.
So welcome to episode 15 of Soccer Chat. I am Alex, he is Adam, and Jeff is north of the border, spying for the Red Wolves, I guess, before their game in Toronto.
I don't think he's in the right part of the Great White North to be spying for us.
Right. Well, I heard that unfortunately his camper got a flat, so he's hammering out a sponsorship deal with Canadian Tire, I think, for Soccer Chat. Future episodes may be brought to you by Canadian Tire. Definitely wouldn't complain. But he did have some thoughts that he wanted to send down to us about the game with Omaha.
Oh, are you wanting me to share that? Because that would involve me paying attention and not responding to Brendan Dean in the chat. And it's not really a skill set of mine.
Brendan Dean!
Wolfman Jeff coming at you. How ironic, I will be in Canada when the Red Wolves will be here in the Great White North. I will be nowhere near Toronto. So I'm about as far as Toronto as Bangor, Maine is from, I don't know, Detroit or Chicago. So that'll give you a sense, you know, yes, I'm in Canada, but it's not close. So we won't be coming back until after Labor Day. Looking forward to catching some Red Wolves games when we first get back. And hey, onward, upward, I feel good. It's going to be interesting to see what side we have play here in Canada. The border was interesting, but I think with our front office, you got people handling all of the border issues ahead of time. But they've had to cancel some things, some sports things already. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully I won't get deported before then. So, hey, hope you enjoy the Red Wolves as they face Toronto FC. Duh.
So that's the wrong video, but I couldn't stop it because I was so mesmerized by what he was telling us. So, yeah, once again proving how good I am at being a producer. Let's get his actual reaction now. Let me pull up the right one.
Hey, Wolfman Jeff coming at you here in a very loud and noisy camper here in Prince Edward Island. Didn't get a chance to see too much of the last game, but I did see the Ricky Ruiz's winning goal. Not sure when I'll be able to watch again. We're now in Prince Edward Island, so moving further and further north, enjoying time with my daughter. So looking like I missed possibly the best Red Wolves game that there ever was. So onward, upward. Hey, hope you guys have a fantastic show. And I will howl. I won't show my daughter, but she'll howl with me. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ow! She was barely there, but my wife, she jumped in to make sure I wasn't, you know, like left hanging there like Ramos would. So I'll catch you later. Bye.
All right, so two things happened in those two different videos, right? So we got his reaction, and he was I think let's real quickly touch on this before we talk Toronto. He's right. The crowd was definitely very involved in the game versus Omaha. There's a lot of college kids from both UTC and Bryan College there, and they brought a lot of energy, which then was picked up by a lot of the fans that we see game in, game out, all the season ticket holders that are in that kind of consistency. We were missing a lot of you guys because you were out with the academy, and we do have a large contingent of academy players and their families that are season ticket holders. And so it was really exciting to see that large crowd, even without the academy bump, which I would guess is between 250 and 500 people total that you get out of that academy bump from the kids to their parents and siblings and such.
I had to chuckle when we were watching the game in the first half, and you'd look at that hill that I'm so used to seeing dozens and dozens of kids running around chasing after shots that go over the goal and all that kind of stuff. And it was just so empty and quiet. And there was almost a tumbleweed going across. I was so glad that you guys made the choice to move down and had some blurry photos of certain soccer chat hosts back on the hill that I found. But yeah, just that you guys moved back in the second half and gave the team a lift as they were attacking that goal. That was great.
I think I mentioned this in the Off the Post, but we were actually asked by Coach Obleda, like as he's leaving, he comes over to where really it was there was a fraternity from UTC that had kind of taken over the first 3 rows of the supporter section, and they were very loud and very engaged with the keeper. I think that's the only way I want to describe that. And Obleda came over and was just like, I need you guys doing the same thing on the other side, getting in his head, being loud. And I don't think he was asking us to cross any lines. He was just wanting us to be loud. And so, yeah, we all it was kind of cool. It was the first time they had the tunnel underneath the stadium open with the lights.
Okay.
And so, literally, it's all the Bryan College kids, so they asked them to go over there too, and all the UTC kids, and then a number of us that sit in the supporter section. The drummers stayed, and we had 2 drums this time, which was great. But the drummers stayed on over there just because we didn't know what the setup would be like with all the rain we'd had up to that point. And yeah, we all went under the tunnel together and got over there, and it was a lot of fun.
So the result of that, we already did Off the Post, so people know what we think about the game. But the result of that was Chattanooga Red Wolves moving into first place. Now, to be fair, we're 2 points ahead of Union Omaha, and they have a game in hand. They've played 16, where we've played 17 games. If you break down the points per game table, the 2 of us are tied.
Yep.
We've got the head-to-head win against them. We've got a draw, so we've taken 4 points from them this season. They've only been able to take the 1. Right below us is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams. So 3 through 9, all sitting at 24 points. And here again, various number of games, but all at 24 points. And pretty shockingly, they're all playing different teams this weekend. So there's a decent chance that they could all kind of end up still bunched up together. What are you thinking about this playoff race as we get towards the final stretch run of the season?
Yeah, so a couple things I would point out. First off, Tormenta here, it's played 20 games, and it's sitting at 24 points. So of those teams, they are the most vulnerable to lose their spot. I think that's a safe statement. Greenville has lost 3 in a row. That's not good for them. Forward just lost to the worst team in the league yesterday. And what's amazing to me about this is the 2 teams that, to me, seem the most likely to cause a headache for these guys are the New England team, which has been very 7 wins, 3 draws, 7 losses, and from there, even if you look at how they've gotten their points, it's very similar. But this Tormenta team is nuts. They either win or lose, pretty much.
Right.
I would say that the most likely to come out of that and hit those top 4 spots in my mind is probably North Texas and or the top 2 spots. I would say is probably North Texas and New England. That's who I think is the most likely to get those home games. But I love it. I love the fact that 3 through 9 is all tied, which means that they can all fight each other for the opportunity to lose to us in the second round.
And you look at Fort Lauderdale at 10th place. They're only 2 points behind them. So things really do stay pretty thick in the table. Really not until you get to those bottom 2 with Tucson and North Carolina do you have any kind of separation. And also kind of exciting, we've got 3-4 games left against those bottom 3. Least we played North Carolina twice. We have a game coming up after this one with Toronto against Fort Lauderdale. And maybe I'm wrong. I thought we had a game against Tucson, but actually I think we've played both Tucson matches.
I'd have to look. The other thing that I've noticed when I've been looking at this, and I'd be honest, I've looked at this quite a lot, and something I just lost track of, I think, is we are the top scoring team in the league right now, and that's with playing only 17 games, right?
Right.
The next closest is Fort Lauderdale, who have played 2 more games than us at 27. But also, we've given up the second least, right? I mean, Union Omaha doesn't score and doesn't give up a lot, which explains your 1-0 victory, even though it could have easily been 3-0. But we score a lot and we're not giving up a lot. That makes me feel really good.
Yes, very much. I think that's going to be different as we look at tomorrow's game against Toronto. And some of the rumors flying around, obviously, as the Red Wolves are having to get across the border. Jeff made reference to the fact that him, with his vacation, trying to get to Canada to spend some time on Prince Edward Island with Anne of Green Gables, was interesting. Stuff that I've heard from sources in the front office is that it's been interesting for the Red Wolves as well. And I think there's going to be a very limited bench, and I think you're going to see a very pragmatic approach to this game, where we try to maybe get some early goals, and if we don't, I think we're going to try to get out of there with a draw. Certain players that are going to be missing, I don't know who all is making the trip and who all has not.
So we know, for at least from Red Wolves pictures, that Frishy is back, because he was on their picture of in Atlanta airport on their way to Toronto. So okay. I feel safe to say Frishy will be back, which is good. He was out for the combo of, from my understanding, a combo of COVID and baby. So I think he had both. Either he was being quarantined because he was close contact with COVID, or he himself had it, and his wife had their baby. So lovely little double for him. But he looks like he's going to be back. He was in the stands last week. So I talked to him a little bit in the stands at the Omaha game, and he indicated that it's not an injury that's holding him back. So that's good news as well. So yeah, we'll see what we get.
So you look at Toronto right now, they're sitting in 6th place, 6 wins, 6 draws, 6 losses.
The epitome of mediocre.
Yes. And you can't really find any kind of pattern if you look at how they've played through the year. One of the things that I make note of is, they started their season, they played 3 or 4 home games in Arizona. They played 3 or 4 more home games in Florida before at the beginning of July being able to get back to Toronto. And they've played about 4 games at home. They had a loss to New England. I think they maybe beat Greenville. It was either Greenville or Forward. But basically in 4 games, they have 1 win, 1 tie, and 2 losses in Toronto. So this is not necessarily like a huge home field advantage that they have. And of course, if you remember from the very first year, it's a training pitch. There's not a ton of people, maybe if academy practice lets out early enough, they'll have some kids on the sideline watching the game. Yeah. They're going to kick off at 4 p.m. because the training pitch doesn't have lights. Unbelievable. How unprofessional. I can't believe they let people do that. And so it's going to be kind of an interesting vibe, but it's not something that really sets up all that well for Toronto too. They have not defended home all that well since they've been back in Canada.
Yeah, and they just don't worry me. Maybe they should, but they just don't. Like when I look at, like, they just played Forward Madison, who is not good. Let's just go ahead and say that. Forward Madison is not good. Forward Madison just lost to North Carolina, with North Carolina starting 3 academy players, the same basic back four that they had against us when we had like 30 shots on goal. Mm-hmm. And they tied them, and they only got off 9 shots. Like, that doesn't make me feel confident about Toronto's ability to do things against us. And so I guess what I'm saying on that is, I get the idea that you have a limited bench and get out of there with a tie, but I'd still be disappointed if we don't get out of there with a win personally.
So that being the case, I think one of the ones we know, Juan Galindrez, player, an international player, came from Colombia. Due to his visa requirements, he was not able to make the trip. And then some of the other players that maybe we've heard or seen that are not going to be there. What kind of lineup, what do you expect to see out there on the field? Who are the major changes?
Well, I think Frishy gets a start, I think, is the key thing you're going to see there. I think he's going to have fresh legs, and you can just run him to death with those fresh legs is kind of the thought, hopefully, that he hasn't been out too long to not be able to go 90 minutes. It's hard to know without knowing who's going to be there, like who's available to them. Mm-hmm. I've heard a rumor we might have a change on the back line. And so, yeah, I think you're going to see a change there. We might have a player you wouldn't expect not playing. And so, who I think has played every minute of the game, just to continue with my hints. Not every minute, but he's definitely started every game. I've heard is not going to be there. And I just don't know. I worry about what this lineup's going to look like because we really have a deep bench. We go, 6, 7 people typically are available. Right. And then, if you're saying we're only going to be bringing like 13, which is what I've heard, 13 or 14, I don't know who those 4 people that are out. Like, does Rafa have any issues with his visa because of, where he's originally from? Because, Juan has his issue, right? So,
right.
I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where it feels like we're going to be thin defensively, thinking of international players. Jorge Luna came from playing in Paraguay, and Sebastian Capizzucci, I believe, came from Chile. And has not, I don't think he was playing in the United States before. So I think those are really ones to keep an eye on. You talked about other changes in the back line that we've heard about. So it could be a very different defense than what we're used to seeing. But I think a lot of our attacking players, they're guys that are from the Los Angeles area that we're, pretty sure that they probably should be able to make it. You might see a first start for someone like Christian Zaragoza. And so that'll be exciting to see if he gets that opportunity. You may have to lean on a kid like that, at least maybe come off the bench if he's not getting the start, so that you can get some minutes.
So what's your thoughts on this? Like, should USL have allowed them to go back to Canada if they are not able to allow the US teams to have their normal players? Like, it seems to me like an unfair advantage for Toronto to not have to play, because a lot of those international players for a lot of teams, not just for us, are your better players typically, right?
Yeah, and it's something that has been like, if you've noticed the rash of academy signings going on around the league, I think if you were to actually do a deep dive and go back, a lot of those were happening in the weeks leading up to them having to go play in Toronto. And so having to do what they can to pad out their bench to have people that they can get across the border. Yeah, I don't know that it was thought out so well, or, when they made the original plan, they may have thought that things were going to be good. And then this Delta surge hit and they didn't adjust. and maybe they couldn't. Maybe, once they were back in Canada, they didn't have the access to facilities like they did to start the season. That's probably something that takes quite a bit of negotiation. So
that's a good point.
I don't know. It's not the first time. We're both Braves fans. There have been multiple times where Braves have had international players coming through their minors, and they would have to kind of switch levels for a couple of weeks while guys were playing minor league games in Ottawa or something like that. So it's something that does happen, and I guess you just got to roll with it, And like you said, we've got a deep bench, so I think they do have the talent to cover for it. It's just going to be a very interesting challenge. I think if they come away with a win, this is one of the big wins of the season, and Coach Obleda should maybe take a moment and savor the fact that he was able to put this together and motivate these guys. And who knows, maybe old Sawchak will hop up off the bench and all of a sudden he'll be in a Red Wolves uniform.
Oh no. I like him, but it's been a couple years at this point. I don't know that he's game fit. All right, so let's get to your painful prediction. We'll let you go first.
So I see us sneaking an early goal and us unfortunately running out of gas towards the end and giving up an equalizer, and us going with a 1-1 draw.
Okay. I'm going a little bit conservative here. I think we win 4-0.
This isn't me. This isn't me playing FIFA, Adam.
No, and it's not Arsenal playing West Brom in the Caribou Cup when we bring our first team and they bring their academy either. But I do think that we're going to play a lot better than expected, and I think there's going to be some players that haven't gotten playing time that are going to get playing time, and this is going to be their chance to shine. And I think Jimmy's going to do a good job of explaining to them, like, hey, we got like 10 weeks left and then playoffs. You want to be a guy off the bench for me? You want to be a guy who gets an occasional start? Go show me what you got. And I think we get something out of him. 4-0. That's my prediction.
All right.
I may be working from home tomorrow, so I can be off right at 4.
Yes, that is definitely a thing that's happening. So everything's topsy-turvy. Alex is negative. Adam's positive. Let's go with area soccer roundup. The UTC ladies off to a 1-1 start. But also tomorrow, I think in the evening, they are going to be at Belmont University up in Nashville, and that game is going to be streamed on ESPN Plus, as well as their Sunday match opponent. I can't remember, but they'll be playing on ESPN Plus again in that game. Tennessee Wesleyan played Dalton State earlier this week, so two clubs that have a lot of ties to Chattanooga Red Wolves, people in the academy kids that have gone to those schools, things like that. And Tennessee Wesleyan, both the men and women came away with wins over Dalton State, so big time for them. And Bryan College also kicked off their season. Unfortunately, couldn't come away with a win. Covenant grad Adam, very happy about that.
I mean, hey, everyone knows the Savannah College of Art and Design is known for their soccer team.
Sorry, Bryan College watchers. Sorry that I set you up for that. Covenant College begins September 1st, and their men's soccer team picked second in conference. So there you go.
I'll take it. And that, our friends, was the area soccer roundup. It's a little weird not having Jeff here to keep me from ripping on Bryan College, as he is a Bryan graduate. I feel bad, but at the same time, please.
At the same time, you don't.
If I'd be lying to you if I felt otherwise, Bryan lied.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
So other area soccer news. I'm sure, Adam, you're an avid reader of the Rome News Tribune. That would be Rome, Georgia. And there was a fun article about Rome.
What's that on the ticker?
being
that's
eyed
accurate.
as a possible destination for a NISA team.
Because everyone, when I think of Rome, I definitely think not single A. I think pro soccer. That's exactly what I think.
So when you're trying to be the league that is pushing to be a rival to MLS, Rome, Georgia is where you go. And I don't want to make fun of Rome too much. Barry College grad, we love Rome. I've talked actually not too long ago about it possibly being a great destination for a USL League Two team. The semi-pro, the college kids. Two things in this article that kind of tickled me. First of all, is in the article it says that. Now I'm trying to find it. Where did you go? It says that there are 2 professional teams in the Southeast, one in Chattanooga and one in Charlotte. So that would be NISA.
NISA teams, yeah. So they're talking about CFC, and they're talking about the NISA-owned Charlotte team, which is in Stumptown.
So, and it's funny because there's Birmingham, Chattanooga, Greenville, South Carolina, Statesboro, another USL team in Charlotte.
Yeah.
And he says that they're centrally located to other cities in the Southeast, including Atlanta, Chattanooga, and Birmingham, which is true. So thinking that there's a lot of players to pull from, but there are actually professional teams in those cities to pull those people. But here's the other one that made me laugh is when he says, I feel like they've updated that. Oh, here we go. Pointed out that West Coast visiting teams would be arriving early to adjust to the time zone, which would mean more business for downtown and local hotels.
Yeah, all 20 of them? Like, what?
The teams on the West Coast struggle to get tens of fans to come to their home games. I don't think you're going to see too many of them traveling out here. You're going to get a really good contingent driving down from Chattanooga, and they'll eat at a restaurant or two, which in Rome, they all close at like 7:30 p.m. anyway. So it's...
Well, they're eating before when they're not, and here's the thing: they're not eating at those restaurants. They're doing a tailgate of their own at the stadium,
right
before the game. So the grocery stores might get some more hot dogs sold.
The team stays at a hotel. They'll stay there the night before. Then they go play the game. I don't want to pour too much cold water on it. If this guy thinks he can make it work in Rome, then more power to him. More opportunities for people to chase their dream of playing soccer. But yeah, that's just some of those claims in the article just made me chuckle.
Well, the other thing that I loved about it, because one of the things all the NISA people love to talk about is how USL went and found this investor guy to come into town to build this team with the Red Wolves, and they get ripped on like that's not local. That article talks about how it's just random
the Roswell City councilman that's trying to start a team in
he lives in Roswell, which is city. An hour and 15 to an hour and 20 minutes away from Rome. Like
north of it's a suburb of Atlanta.
Yeah. It's just like the hypocrisy of that whole group of people. Like, I would like for NISA just to go ahead and fold, and the good teams they have left go to a real league, because it's a joke. All right, moving on.
Hey, Adam, did you see the game? Did you watch that game Sunday?
There was a game on Sunday. Are you sure it didn't feel like a game?
Well, here again, we'll bring back Alex playing FIFA on easy. Because Reece James there over on that right wing really seemed to have all sorts of space, as if the computer generated player was purposely tucking inside.
It's almost as if our starting left back was out with COVID. It's weird.
Yeah, well, so a good coach would have actually replaced him on the field.
Nope.
Apparently, Arteta was just like, I guess we don't get to play with a left back now.
Yeah, well, the fact is we don't have a good backup left back. It was ugly. Like, I think we all we all knew it was going to be ugly. No one's expecting this weekend versus Man City to go any better. Even what was really funny to me was even Xhaka's comments after the game was he was like, the first 2 or 3 games don't define your season. I'm like, I haven't played the third game yet. You're letting the cat out of the bag.
So is Mari okay? Has anyone checked on him? Is he good? Did he make it to practice?
We played the game on
counseling?
Wednesday. We played the game on Wednesday. I feel like we came out of our rut a little bit. And we're obviously going to be a cup team this year, because why else would we put out our first team to play? Arteta's is like, nope, we're winning the Carabao and we're winning the FA, and we're going to finish in last in the Premier League. That's my goal. I'm going to see how long I can hold on without scoring any goals in the Premier League, because we're going to be 3 games in without a goal scored. Let that be known. We're going to lose to Man City. There's a good chance, by then they will have signed everyone who's not been signed to PSG. So it is what it is.
So big game for Wolverhampton taking on Tottenham. Jeff has thoughts.
Jeff always has thoughts.
Yeah, this show's going to be dreadfully short because we don't have all of Jeff's thoughts.
Hey, Wolfman Jeff coming at you. Didn't get a chance to watch the Tottenham match. I heard it looked better than how the score was, that they're still kind of coming together. Word is that Bruno Lage is coming up with a side that's may look more like Obleda ball. We got to get some more key signings in there, a few things to beef up. Right now, the problem is with our spine, insofar as our sides are fantastic, and our very front is great with Raul Jimenez, but we're having problems getting the ball moved up in the middle. So we need another central defender, and probably someone in the midfield. So not too much longer. I think most Wolves fans right now are watching that market. Delighted we haven't lost some of our key players. Of course, that could change between now and then, but the strengthening needs to be center back and probably a defensive midfielder. Hey, this is Wolfman Jeff coming at you at Prince Edward Island here in Canada. Our home and native land, true patriots love. I'll stop.
Oh, so good. So good. So before we move on to the favorite segment that most people have, which is the Biggleswade Report, today the U.S. men's national team's World Cup qualifier roster was noticed. Did you get a chance to see that?
No, I did
All
not.
right. So in my opinion, the biggest part as a USL League One fan to see on there, a certain gentleman by the name of Ricardo Pepi has been included, which means he has chosen the U.S. As where he's going to go is between us and Mexico, as he is a Mexican American. He was born in the U.S., but he is of Mexican heritage. What is your thought on that as you see that?
Thank God I finally get to watch Pepe do something and be excited for it. He gave me nightmares in the very first Red Wolves game, of course, when he scored his hat trick. He gave me more nightmares about a year or so ago in the playoffs, as the Portland Timbers needed just to see out a goal kick that instead they put right into the path of Ricardo Pepi, who then scored, tied the game, converted a penalty in the shootout to knock the Timbers out of the MLS Cup playoffs. I was just waiting for him to get signed somewhere like Arsenal and put Chelsea out of some kind of cup, or to go with Mexico and keep us from qualifying for the World Cup. So, hooray! I actually get to root for Ricardo Pepi. Congrats, kid.
Yeah, so I'm going to share my screen and show you guys the rest of the roster so you can kind of get a look at what we're looking at here. So there is Ricardo Pepi, as previously mentioned, but a number of other players that are on here or not on here that people found interesting. Is there anybody else when you look over this list that you're either excited to see on the list or you're surprised not to see on the list?
I am excited about Serginho Dest, Anthony Robinson. A little surprised to see DeAndre Yedlin. Not a name that we've heard from very much. But Tyler Adams, Weston McKinney, Josh Sargent. I feel like the Josh Sargent experiment has run its course. I don't get what everyone else sees, but yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited about this roster. I think it should be interesting to see how we do. It's coming up really soon, so yeah, I think for like I said, for a League One fan to see somebody who literally I got to watch in person here in Chattanooga when they came to visit at CCS, it's pretty exciting. So yeah, thought I'd share that before we moved on to everyone's favorite segment, which is the Biggleswade report. So with that said,
I'm looking at that schedule coming up next week. 7 points minimum. Really probably should be 9 if we're being honest.
Yeah,
so,
agreed.
All right, that brings us to the Biggleswade report. Sorry, I've lost my notes. There we go.
I got you zoomed in too.
All right. Biggleswade United on Tuesday taking on Newport Pagnell Town. We all know how those guys are. Level at the half, it was 2-2. The game did not go Biggleswade United's way in the second half, unfortunately. Giving up a lot of goals. A lot of goals being scored against Biggleswade United right now. Hopefully they are identifying some things and getting that defense shored up. They have not been shut out often, so they are able to score goals. If they can get that defense organized, then they will find themselves in more of these matches. They are going to be home against Coventry Sphinx on Saturday. Biggleswade FC on Saturday, a big 3-0 win against Harrogate Town in the FA Cup preliminary round. So now they're going on to first qualifying. We'll get to host AFC Dunstable. And on Saturday, they'll be on the league taking on Colney Heath. And then our friend Chris Nunn got their draw for the first qualifying round of the FA Cup. They will be taking on Hitchin Town. The great thing about these matches is they're going to be local. So AFC Dunstable and Hitchin Town are both very close to Biggleswade, Bedford, this area. So these are going to be like local rivalry. You're going to see a lot of folks hopefully traveling, good atmosphere at those matches. So Biggleswade Town had a midweek draw against Luton Town U-23s. So Luton Town, part of English Championship, and their development side came down, played a friendly. That game ended in a 2-2. They will be playing Saturday at Hednesford, and then they will be home on Monday, bank holiday in England. They will be playing St. Ives Town, and be paying attention for the Biggleswade Town program. The match program gets put out on Twitter, and you will see an article from Soccer Chat. That's your exciting Biggleswade report.
Well, thank you, sir. And for those of you that have been paying attention, Alex has had professed his deficit of poutine. And Alex, can you explain to me what that is?
So poutine is French fries covered in a cheese sauce-like gravy, and I think sometimes other things as a bacon and stuff like that sprinkled on top. Okay. A delicacy that I hope one day to have myself, but as of right now, I am poutine deficient.
All right. Well, I think on that note, I think we can go ahead and say
bye.
Bye.
Oh, and by the way, poutine. It was ordered. It was eaten by my daughter. I don't eat it. It's kind of nasty. So, donairs are great, but poutine, my daughter eats that up, just like the proper Canadian she is.